Hello everybody, and welcome to the Kimi ga Nozomu Eien anime adaptation discussion. And this adaptation is sometimes known as Rumbling Hearts as well, if that's the name you know of. So, I've read the visual novel. I'm currently reading chapter 2 at the moment. I'm reading Homeda's Route, if you know about the visual novel. I'm not reading the bad ending anymore, if you really are curious. So yeah, I am currently sane. But yeah, anyway. Yeah. I was really impressed with this adaptation. I thought it was just going to be simply all of the visual novel events in anime format, but no, it's so much more than that. And there's a lot of things that were in the anime adaptation that weren't actually in the visual novel. And it's kind of unusual what the story is. So a little bit of a spoiler for chapter 2, but I kind of feel like this anime adaptation is a combination of Haruka, Mitsuki, and Akane's roots. And I'll tell you why I think that in the video later. But yeah, let's get talking about the plot. I've kind of got a few notes here, and yeah, we're just gonna go through episode by episode and talk about a lot of the things that are really quite interesting. So yeah, the first thing I noticed is the art style is really unusual. As you can obviously see on the screen, and also something really cool I've got. I actually decided to get the visual art book. So yeah, I think you can probably tell that I like the art style. I thought it was a little bit stretched out at first. I don't know, I got used to it, but I felt like it was just oddly stretched out. I don't know if that was just me or not, but yeah, I did get used to it in the end. But I like the art style. It's classic 2000s art style, if you ask me, and it's not overly modern. I think it looks good, and it definitely does everything it needs to, really. And yeah, it was also quite nice seeing some of the visual novel soundtrack releases. Sorry, I meant remixes as well. I think the OVA did some really good ones as well. But yeah, so for episode 1 and 2, we kind of have the events of chapter 1 that play out, and everything happens surprisingly quickly. I mean, I'm just because I've read the visual novel, I'm used to seeing everything really quite slowly. I think the funny scenes, there was one scene where Mitsuki and Shinji were just kind of spying on Takayuki. I think it was in chapter 1 before he truly wanted to have the relationship with Haruka. And I love that scene. And yeah, it's just everything that goes on, it's really similar to the plot actually. And then yeah, main thing I was surprised about was how fast things happened. And yeah, I just kind of wish there was a little bit more time to get used to the characters. But yeah. Now, episode 3 was quite different, and this is obviously where chapter 2 starts in the visual novel. It really is different in the anime, and it's kind of yeah, so it's just weird because you see everything 3 years later. Haruka's not there. Obviously, everything has completely recovered. People were being able to live a new life, and yeah, I suppose what's cool as well is you get to see a lot more about the life of these characters, really. For example, you get to see Mitsuki's job, which is something that so far I've not really heard much about in the visual novel. I know that she works at an office, but we don't get to see her job at all, and that's what I really like. I suppose the anime is kind of, it's not just in the point of view of Takayuki, so that's kind of why we get to see so much more about what everyone's getting up to. And yeah, it was done nicely, and I think when I was rewatching, I just had to mention the scene where you see Daikuji for one of the first times, and then she's just complete arsehole to the customer, and customer's just totally trying to provoke her, and she's just saying, huh? She's not even acknowledging the customer. I mean, my god, if you think about Sky Temple, holy shit, how can a place be so understaffed that they continue to employ somebody as rude to the customers as Daikuji? I will never understand that. But yeah, obviously, you get ridiculous scenes like that, and you get the context of what happens more later and why everything became like that. So then, obviously, for episode 4, we get a bit of Akane's character, and oh yeah, we get the scene where Akane discovers Haruka waking up as well. Another thing that I never saw in the visual novel, I like that beforehand, obviously again, it's in Takayuki's perspective, so we couldn't really have seen this, but it's still a nice little scene. And yeah, and then we kind of have the turning point of the story in episode 4 as well, because Haruka wakes up. We get to see the scene with Akane actually just seeing Haruka's hand out of the bed. The fact that it is mysteriously moved. And then you realise that she has found Haruka waking up. And yeah, cool little scene. We didn't actually see that in the visual novel, obviously, because it's only in Takayuki's perspective. So yeah, it was a nice touch. And obviously, you get to see the beginning of Takayuki's grief as well, and just in general, proper depression. And yeah, you get an indication of how sad the anime is going to be as well, just because of the fact that Haruka has woken up and things are going to get difficult. And so episode 5, the really nice thing I think this anime emphasizes that, I mean, obviously you get emphasis in the visual novel. I mean, I hate to talk about something that should be taboo, but Mitsuki's bad ending. Yeah, you just get to see how much of a train wreck Mitsuki is. It's emphasized in the visual novel, obviously, but I like how the anime emphasizes it as well. You get to see, for example, just her transitioning from being this amazing swimmer to not just suddenly leaving, just completely destroying her reputation. And I remember that flashback where she's just completely shouted at by the instructor as well. And yeah, you also see Mitsuki and what she did for Takayuki as well. And yeah, the funny thing is as well, another thing we didn't see in the visual novel, Takayuki's light being absolutely crap. It's an interesting detail. But yeah, and you also have scenes with Mitsuki and Akane at Sky Temple as well. And oh god, I also had to put this in here. The scene where that really horrible scene where Takayuki is kind of, I don't really know much about how he feels to Mitsuki here, but he's total wreck from everything that's happened to Haruka, and he's just kind of getting closer and closer to Mitsuki, and I think he's feeling worse about everything that's going on with Haruka just because he kind of feels as if he's betraying her. And yeah, do you know, I can't actually remember if Takayuki stopped coming to the hospital because of Mitsuki, or if it was because Haruka's dad just said, you should not come here. I mean, obviously, I know what happened in the visual novel, but I kind of forgot what it was for the anime. But yeah, I like the scene where you just see how you just kind of get a perspective for how much Takayuki's lost it. Where you see him trying to literally take Haruka out of the hospital for the picture book expedition, and getting slapped in the face by Kozuki as well. And yeah, that scene was really good. And yeah, I had to put this as well. Yeah, odd way Mitsuki's relationship with Takayuki began. It's just kind of funny. I mean, basically, she shows Takayuki how much she loves him by stripping. Yeah, if you guys remember that. It's just kind of ironic seeing that scene in the visual novel because of how physical and sexual their relationship is. And then yeah, then we have episode 6, and yeah, we have obviously the key point that we didn't really see in Mitsuki's route in the visual novel, Takayuki doing the spell with Haruka properly being lost because he's just, well, his feelings for her are recovering. And yeah, we also have that horrible scene where Mitsuki goes out of work and then Akane just doesn't let her in as well. And obviously, you get all of the tension with Akane and Mitsuki. And what I liked in episode 3, by the way, was you had that part where you saw Mitsuki just see Akane after she was, well, she was doing something with her swimming team, and then they just cross paths, and oh my god, she's just totally ignored. And I mean, if I was a first time viewer, I would just be questioning what the hell went on from that point onwards. Yeah, because you'd really be able to tell that everything has changed for the worse, basically. And yeah, obviously Takayuki is finding it more and more difficult to get over Haruka, and yeah, in episode 7 as well, you have the part where Akane is just annoyed and feels like Takayuki is lying to Haruka, and everything's just going worse, really. And yeah, what I also find interesting is we get more about Sky Temple as well in episode 7. We get Takayuki's possible prospects for a promotion. Now, I've not read Mitsuki chapter 3, but I do wonder if that still happens in that. I know it doesn't in Haruka's chapter 3 because I've read that, but wait, no. I mean, I think he goes full time. He goes full time in somewhere completely different. I can't remember where. He does actually quit Sky Temple. But yeah, you also see Mitsuki here pretty different to how she was in the visual novel, because in the visual novel I always got the impression that she was desperate and she would do anything just to be with Takayuki. And there were a lot of times where, okay, this is a spoiler for Homida's route, but you know how Homida in the beginning just kind of seems like the perfect person, the person that Takayuki just can't have anything wrong against. Mitsuki kind of does that here, in the sense that she's just always doing everything for Takayuki, and obviously she's really not letting her feelings show and just how afraid she is of losing him. But it's kind of different in the anime. Yeah, she's a lot more honest about it, and she hides it less, if you ask me. And the good example in episode 7 was that scene where, oh my god, she goes to the balcony and she just completely throws out all of the books about possible places that they could go to, just because she is just so much of a lack of confidence that everything's going to work out, really. And yeah, you see things getting really difficult here. And yeah, episode 8 time. So my first thought was Hoshino and Amakawa are a lot more. I mean, Amakawa's sweet, obviously, she's just a kind of funny anime character. But yeah, Hoshino is not as weird as she was in the visual novel, if you ask me. I mean, I haven't read her route, but yeah, just from the impression I get, she's just so strange. And we even have a drink with Hoshino in the anime. I mean, that's unbelievable. Never really something I'd expect, but obviously then we get the indication that Amakawa has disappeared, and yeah, I don't know why she disappeared, but yeah, I will learn that soon. And yeah, oh yeah, this is a good scene. It is interesting that you get what I was saying about Mitsuki being a lot more stressed, and yeah, here just Mitsuki forcing herself on Takayuki. I mean, obviously that happens in the visual novel, but I feel like it was a bit more obvious what she was feeling here. It was a little bit more subtle how scared she was in the visual novel, if you ask me. I think a good example of this is that love hotel scene in chapter 2, if you remember it. But yeah, just then Takayuki not being able to admit to Mitsuki that he fully loves her and that he doesn't have feelings for Haruka as well. And yeah, then you do see desperation in Mitsuki later on, as well as obviously Mitsuki being very stressed. And you also see a surprising change. You see how understanding Ishida is. In other words, the person that Mitsuki works with in the Hazawa trading place. And you also see, obviously, you see later on when Takayuki and Shinji have a fight just outside of Sky Temple, how considerate the manager Takayuki is. And yeah, it's just quite funny that they have such surprisingly kind superiors. And yeah, and then we have I love that I put this in my notes, but yeah, so we've got Daikuji kind of inappropriately jokes about the Mayaru's present book, but she, with her magical weird procurement service, she gets the book and then she gives it to him. And yeah, it's just, I always thought in Haruka's route, when you see, and Mitsuki's route actually, he still gives the present to the book to Haruka in Mitsuki's route, which is quite surprising. And obviously this Haruka is the one that hasn't lived for, well, hasn't had any recollection of the fact that she's living 3 years in the future rather than the second she woke up. Yeah, I forgot where my sentence was going. Sorry. But yeah, oh yeah, that's where. So in the visual novel, it was just kind of, you give that book to Haruka is just a symbol of how much you care about her and a symbol of how much you were kind of neglecting the relationship with Mitsuki and just being swayed by Haruka's feelings. It's kind of, I can't really feel horrible for Takayuki. When I meant, like, I can't feel really angry to him because he's really grief stricken and he is irresponsible, but at the same time it's just such a difficult situation that I can't really blame him, to be honest. But yeah, and this is kind of the beginning of Mitsuki. I mean, you think about Mitsuki being properly feeling, well, she's properly feeling shit, and then you just think, could it get worse? Yes, it could. Yeah, because now you see her getting really drunk, and then you see random people from her school trying to basically use her for sex, let's be honest. And then you get Shinji just totally having a fight, and yeah, then you see Shinji just getting with Mitsuki, and obviously Shinji having an affair with his girlfriend, and obviously Mitsuki doing the same with Takayuki, just because he's really scared of what will happen to her. And if I'm going to be honest, I do like that Shinji. I think Shinji's character is actually quite good in the anime and also in the visual novel. It's just funny that no matter where we go, Shinji will support us. One exception though, and I really like this exception. Spoilers for Homida's route, but well, yeah. Whatever the fuck that bad ending was. Yeah, completely mind broken Takayuki. And yeah, that's my one exception where Shinji is not supportive of Takayuki. But yeah, they do make up in the end, but still. And then yeah, did I wait? Where is the part? Hang on a second. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, episode 10 is the episode where the pivotal point happens, where basically kind of a combination of, actually no, I won't say that. This has been more Haruka's route so far than Mitsuki's route. It only kind of becomes Mitsuki's route in the later parts. But this is kind of where Haruka's route kind of merges with Akane's route because Akane very understandably just can't bear lying to Haruka anymore. And she just doesn't want to. She tells the truth of what happened. Obviously, if you've read Akane's route, the reason why Akane tells Haruka in the visual novel is very, very different to the anime. But yeah, you have that, and you also have Akane just pushing herself so much that she feels sick, which is obviously something that will happen to Takayuki later on in the anime, and Takayuki taking her home, which is something we never saw in the visual novel as well. Yeah, and yeah, you do see Akane getting quite close to Takayuki here as well, which is really quite interesting. And I swear, Akane's possible feelings to Takayuki, yeah, they're kind of hinted at, but they're not really fully spelt out. And yeah, we also got, I suppose, another indication was when she told us the reason why she started waiting for Haruka every day for those first 1.5 years was just so that Takayuki could be happy. It was kind of doing it for his sake as well as Haruka's sake. So I suppose, yeah, she really does care about Takayuki even here. And yeah. Then we have episode 11 after that. Obviously Haruka's in the ICU, and yeah, Mitsuki is completely broken, and yeah, I think this was the episode. Interesting episode where where Shinji gives Mitsuki a present. I don't even think he wants to get with her because obviously he has a girlfriend, but it's just out of pure kindness. But she just can't accept it. She just genuinely can't. She's just that attached to Takayuki, really. And yeah, it's interesting how Takayuki kind of has the same thing that happened to Akane happen to him, and then obviously Mitsuki is the one that nurses him back to back back to a good condition, really, and that's kind of similar to the visual novel in a sense. Obviously, Takayuki doesn't then completely betray her trust, which definitely happened in the visual novel. My God, but yeah, it's kind of similar to how it was a few years ago when they met, that scene. Yeah, and obviously you have Takayuki and Akane growing closer, which is something I never really expected in the anime. They were a lot closer. They were a lot closer in the anime than they were in Haruka's route in the visual novel, if you ask me. But Akane still did respect Takayuki in Haruka's route, and obviously then we have yeah, in episode 12, and like I mentioned before, the fighting between Shinji and Takayuki just because of how much him just being indecisive about what he's going to do hurts Mitsuki. And yeah, then, and also obviously the nursing scene that I just mentioned. It's interesting, episode 13, because obviously Takayuki is completely torn between the two of them, and yet he tells Haruka that they've broken up just because of the fact that it's just not working. And yet Mitsuki says completely the opposite. And yeah, you even have that really unpleasant scene where Haruka gets really upset, falls out with Mitsuki as well. And yeah, if I'm going to be honest, I think this scene was done so much better than in the visual novel. That scene where Mitsuki slapped Haruka in the visual novel, I just kind of felt it was a bit hard to follow. I just think it was a bit unrealistic. It wasn't really my favourite scene, but I think this was really nice. It was nicely done how they actually fell out in the end. And yeah, obviously you see Akane and how much she cares about Haruka as well. And you also get a little bit of, this is kind of where Mitsuki's route merges into all of this as well, by the way. You get Haruka's physical therapy, and you get that horrible scene where it's nighttime and you just see how much she's struggling because it's her own body, and she just can't move it, and she's trying so hard to cope. Really, let's be honest. And then obviously the final episode, you get Haruka saying goodbye to Takayuki out of all things. Kind of reminds me of Mitsuki's route in that sense. And when Takayuki just realizes how, I suppose, when Haruka finally cuts ties with him, he realizes who matters to him more, and he decides to pick Mitsuki out of everything. And I'm not even joking. I actually preferred the confession scene to Mitsuki. I liked it in the visual novel. I thought it was alright, but I thought it was a lot more powerful in the anime. I just think it's so surprising that some anime scenes I actually think were cooler than the visual novel scenes. But obviously, I just kind of prefer storytelling in visual novels. So if the anime scenes were adapted and their exact events were adapted in visual novel format, I probably would have preferred them in the visual novel. It was just kind of because the events were better. And yeah, Takayuki doing anything to get Mitsuki back, and obviously you get the classic VN theme at the end as well. And you get the picture book, you get the future a bit, even though I did prefer how it was done in the visual novel, but it was still really nice to see how everyone has recovered after, and also seeing Haruka get discharged as well. And that's the anime. And yeah, so overall it was a really entertaining watch, and I think I love that it wasn't exactly the same. You definitely have value from actually watching it, which not a bad thing at all. And then we have the OVA, which is it must be really weird watching the anime and then just watching the OVA, because it's kind of like Mitsuki's route, the anime, and then the OVA is just Haruka Chapter 3. It's just really different, and it is kind of like a parallel universe where Takayuki decided to pick Haruka, and obviously Mitsuki's life is really, really changed, and you still get that conversation with Tsujimura. And yeah, I won't deny I preferred the original art style compared to the OVA art style, but I did like the visual novel themes that were remixed in the OVA. Now, there's not really much to say about this. It's basically just chapter 3, but yeah, it's got some cool stuff. Sometimes it did feel a bit like an info dump, but I mean, I think it was still alright. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest. But yeah, that was Rumbling Hearts. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would definitely recommend giving this anime adaptation a watch, because it's just a good experience in general. And I think if you've read the visual novel and you want to experience the series more, I would recommend it. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go now. So see you guys next time.